Welcome to Wisdom and Wealth, friends. Are you looking for clarity and empowerment as you navigate the complexities of relationships, especially those involving challenging personalities? Then you're in the right place. We delve into profound insights for those of us over 40, providing a roadmap to a more fulfilling life. Today, we're exploring the dynamics between superempaths and narcissists and revealing a truth that might just change everything for you: how a superempath tortures a narcissist, not through revenge, but through self-empowerment. It's about understanding, reclaiming your energy, and ultimately, finding your peace. Before we dive in, if you find this content valuable, please consider liking and subscribing to Wisdom and Wealth. We are trying to create a place that provides meaningful support and guidance for your journey. Your support helps us reach more people who need these insights. So, hit that like button and subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel for more wisdom and wealth building strategies. And please, stay until the end. The final lesson holds the key to unlocking your true power. The greatest punishment for a narcissist isn't some grand act of revenge. It's exposure, plain and simple. A superempath, that individual with exceptional empathy and understanding, doesn't need to engage in shouting matches or physical fights. Their strength lies in their ability to see the truth for what it is and, more importantly, refuse to play the narcissist's manipulative games. The narcissist thrives on control, creating chaos, and demanding constant attention. These are the fuels that feed their ego and validate their distorted sense of self-importance. But the empath has the power to starve them of these very elements. They do this through the potent weapon of silence, a powerful presence grounded in self-awareness, and unwavering emotional clarity. It's not about lashing out or launching counterattacks. You don't effectively torture the narcissist by directly confronting them. Instead, the real power comes from healing yourself, from nurturing your own well-being and establishing unshakable boundaries. Now, around 50% of the way through, so another reminder that if you're resonating with what we are discussing, and I hope you are, please give this video a like and subscribe to our Buddhist Doctrine channel. It is our greatest pleasure to share this information with the world. What unsettles a manipulator more than anything else is encountering someone they can no longer manipulate. Stay with me, because the final lesson will reveal where your real power truly begins. A narcissist's only real weapon is your reaction. Without it, they are powerless. The truth is, the narcissist doesn't dominate through genuine strength or capability. Their dominion is built on distortion. They don't necessarily need to yell, micromanage your schedule, or make overt demands to exert control over you. All they need is one thing, as was just stated: your reaction. That's their access point, the open door to your emotional landscape. They strategically bait you with subtle jabs, backhanded compliments disguised as concern, guilt-laced questions designed to undermine your confidence, and carefully orchestrated emotional sabotage. Their goal isn't to obliterate you outright. Instead, they aim to plant seeds of confusion, subtle doubts that gnaw at your sense of self. They want to make you do their dirty work, essentially unraveling your own sense of reality from the inside out. The narcissist survives by infiltrating your nervous system, subtly rewriting the way you interpret your experiences and interactions. And the moment you start reacting, explaining your actions, justifying your choices, or defending your character, you are no longer standing firm in your own truth. You've unwittingly stepped into their carefully constructed frame. Once you enter that twisted frame, everything becomes clouded in a fog of uncertainty. You lose your bearings, unsure of what's real anymore. You lose sight of who you are in their presence, constantly second-guessing your perceptions and feelings. All you know is that you feel perpetually drained, uncertain, and like you're walking on eggshells, slowly dissolving into a shadow of your former self. This is the brilliance of their strategy, and it's all done covertly, beneath the surface. They don't rely on weapons or brute force. They use you, specifically your innate goodness and empathy. And now we are right around the halfway point, and you know what to do. If you are getting something out of this material, it helps us greatly if you like and subscribe. They prey on your empathy, your kindness, your inherent desire for clarity, and your deep-seated need for peace and harmony. They know that you're the type of person who is inclined to reflect on your actions, apologize for perceived missteps, and actively try to make things right in any situation. And so, they turn these very qualities against you. They trap you, not with explosive rage, but with a pervasive sense of confusion. One minute you feel incredibly close to them, connected on a deep level, and the next, they become distant and cold, leaving you bewildered. One moment you're the love of their life, their soulmate, and the next you're inexplicably cast as the villain in a story you don't even understand. And you stay, you keep trying, because you're convinced you can somehow fix it. They've subtly manipulated you into believing that you're the unstable one, that you're the source of the problem, that if you just explained yourself better, tried harder to please them, and gave them more of your time and energy, they would stop changing the rules, and the relationship would finally stabilize. But the truth is, they won't. The constant chaos isn't accidental. It's their primary tool for maintaining control, and your reaction to that chaos is their ultimate reward. The empath suffers the most in this toxic dynamic, not because they're inherently weak, but because they're wired to feel deeply. They are acutely sensitive to shifts in energy, subtle changes in tone, and unspoken tensions. They naturally crave resolution, wanting to smooth things over and restore harmony. And they hold a deep-seated belief in the inherent goodness of people. So, when they're attacked, their first instinct isn't to fight back, but to understand the root cause of the aggression. When they're manipulated, they spend hours reflecting on their own actions, trying to identify what they did wrong. When they're hurt, they reach inward, searching for ways to heal the breach instead of pulling away to protect themselves. But that very softness, that inherent sensitivity, is what keeps them entangled in the narcissist's web. The narcissist doesn't necessarily feed on overt conflict. They feed on your effort. Your willingness to stay in the room and engage in the drama. Your tireless willingness to justify yourself over and over again, trying to prove your worth to someone who has no intention of ever acknowledging it. They don't want genuine healing, they want absolute control. And control is far easier to maintain when you never leave the meticulously crafted frame they built for you. But here's what the narcissist fears most of all, more than any confrontation or threat. It's your silence. Not the temporary silence that stems from being hurt or overwhelmed, but the final silence, the resolute stillness that comes from a place of deep clarity. The silence that doesn't arise from punishment or resentment, but from a profound understanding of the situation and an unwavering commitment to self-preservation. It's the silence that comes from no longer needing anything from them, no longer seeking their approval, validation, or love. Because once you stop needing, you automatically stop reacting. And once you stop reacting, you effectively break the contract, dissolve the unspoken agreement that kept you bound to their manipulative games. The game ends, and they know it. That's why they will inevitably try to provoke you back into the fray. They'll alternate between showering you with flattery and subjecting you to cruelty, hoping to trigger an emotional response. They'll beg for forgiveness, then blame you for everything that went wrong. They'll try to portray themselves as the victim, twisting the narrative to elicit your sympathy. They'll try to remind you of the idealized version of your relationship, the happy memories from before everything began to crack. But all of it is bait, a carefully constructed trap designed to lure you back into their control. All of it is a test, a desperate attempt to see if they can still tap into your energy, if they can still make you question yourself and your sanity, if they can still occupy space in your head uninvited. The only way out, the only path to true liberation, is not to fight harder. The very act of fighting is what fuels their game. The way out is to stop playing altogether. To exit the frame they've created, to stop trying to prove your worth to someone who only values your submission. When a superempath finally stops explaining themselves, stops apologizing for things that aren't their fault, and stops needing the narcissist's approval, the narcissist begins to unravel and fall apart. Not because you've launched some kind of calculated attack, but because you've effectively disappeared from their grip. You've become emotionally invisible, unavailable to their manipulative games. And for someone who thrives on control and validation, that silence isn't peace, it's a profound and devastating defeat. They don't know what to do with someone they can't move, can't provoke, can't manipulate. They can't seduce a genuine presence from a soul that has already reclaimed its energy and set firm boundaries. They can't feed on someone who has stopped bleeding attention, someone who has learned to nourish themselves from within. So, reclaim your breath, reclaim your nervous system, reclaim your clarity. And remember, your reaction is the hook that keeps you entangled. Your energy is the fuel that sustains their game. And your silence, the kind that comes from no longer needing their approval, is your most potent weapon. Walk away without flinching, without looking back, without offering any explanation. That's how you truly win. Not by defeating them in a battle of wills, but by transforming yourself into someone they can no longer reach. Power doesn't always announce itself with loud pronouncements and aggressive displays. It doesn't always raise its voice or demand attention. Sometimes, true power resides in the one who simply stops speaking first, who quietly withdraws from the toxic dance and reclaims their sovereignty. Now, one last time, if you feel like you have enjoyed this valuable content, please subscribe to our Buddhist Doctrine channel. The empath's greatest mistake, the one they often make before they fully awaken to the reality of the situation, is believing that truth alone can win the battle. They painstakingly explain their perspective, they meticulously reason through the issues, they offer evidence to support their claims, they approach the situation with clarity, compassion, and an unwavering desire for understanding, hoping that if they can just say the right thing, articulate their feelings perfectly, the confusion will finally end, and the relationship will return to a state of harmony. But the truth is, the narcissist isn't seeking understanding. They are seeking submission, a complete surrender of your will to their control. They are not interested in clarity. They are addicted to control, to manipulating the narrative and maintaining their position of dominance. And the more the empath speaks, the more the narcissist tightens the rope, twisting their words, weaponizing their kindness, turning logic into endless loops that drain the empath's spirit and leave them feeling utterly exhausted and confused. This isn't a genuine conversation. It's a performance, a carefully orchestrated act designed to keep the empath entangled long enough for them to forget where they started, to forget who they were before they began endlessly explaining themselves and justifying their existence. But the super empath, once awakened to the true nature of the dynamic, plays a different game. They stop explaining, not because they've given up on the relationship, but because they've finally seen through the charade, they've recognized the manipulation for what it is. They understand that truth doesn't need to wrestle, that dignity doesn't beg for validation, and that the one who feels the constant need to manipulate reality through distortion has already revealed their own inherent weakness and insecurity. So, the supermpath doesn't retaliate, doesn't engage in petty acts of revenge. They withdraw, not in fear or defeat, but in power, in clarity, in a sacred distance born of self-respect. They shift from a defensive posture to a place of discernment, from constantly arguing and trying to prove their point to calmly observing the situation without judgment, from reacting emotionally to cultivating a deep sense of inner stillness. And this stillness isn't passive. It's not silence born of collapse or resignation. It's silence born of command, of a conscious choice to disengage from the drama and reclaim their own energy. Because nothing destroys the narcissist faster than the absence of emotional fuel, the withdrawal of the attention and validation they crave. They don't fear anger. They don't fear argument. They fear the void, the emptiness where their chaos used to echo back, the deafening silence where their manipulations no longer find a receptive audience. They fear the mirror that shows them nothing but their own distorted reflection, without anyone else to distract or devour. When the supermpath goes quiet, something profound begins to shift in the dynamic. The narcissist feels it, a subtle tremor in their carefully constructed reality. The weight of their mask, the facade they so meticulously maintain, starts to tremble because their power has never come from within. It has always come from what they could extract from you, your attention, your emotions, your vulnerability. But now it's gone. You're still, you're watching, you're no longer trying to fix, to explain, to prove your worth. And in that space, their carefully crafted identity begins to unravel, not because you actively destroyed it, but because you stopped holding it together with your energy and attention. They don't know who they are without your emotional reaction, without your constant need for reassurance and validation. They don't know how to maintain control in the face of quiet resistance, of unwavering self-possession. Because they've spent their entire life mastering the art of pulling strings, manipulating others to fulfill their needs, but you've finally cut those strings, freeing yourself from their control. You're no longer a puppet in their show. You've stepped off the stage, refusing to play your assigned role. And now there's only silence, the deafening absence of the drama they crave. But this silence isn't empty. It's full, brimming with sovereignty, with a newfound sense of self-respect, with healed boundaries, with the energy you've reclaimed from their manipulative grip. You no longer live in response to their chaos, constantly trying to anticipate their needs and avoid triggering their anger. You no longer shrink to keep the peace, sacrificing your own well-being in the process. You no longer mirror their madness in the name of compassion, believing that you can somehow fix them with your love and understanding. Because now you understand a crucial truth: not everyone is ready for your softness, for your empathy, for your unwavering kindness. Not everyone deserves your attention, your time, your energy. And not everyone will meet your depth with depth, your vulnerability with genuine care. Some will only try to control it, diminish it, exploit it for their own selfish gain. And your power is not in fixing that, in trying to transform them into someone they are not capable of being. It's in walking away from it completely, quietly, without needing to be understood, vindicated, or even heard. The supermpath doesn't win by out-talking the narcissist, by engaging in endless debates and trying to prove them wrong. They win by becoming unreachable, by creating an unbreachable barrier of self-respect and emotional sovereignty. Their energy becomes clean, focused, untouchable, shielded from the narcissist's manipulations. They no longer walk into emotional ambushes, lured by false promises and guilt trips. They no longer carry the weight of someone else's wounds, taking responsibility for their feelings and trying to fix their problems. They've stopped treating dysfunction like a puzzle to be solved, a challenge to be overcome. Instead, they've become a mirror, silent, centered, and unwavering in their self-possession. And a narcissist cannot survive that. They can't manipulate silence, they can't twist stillness, they can't feed off what refuses to flinch, what remains grounded in its own truth. So, if you are the empath, the one who has been giving and giving, trying to heal and understand, know this: your silence is not weakness. It is strategy, a conscious choice to reclaim your power. It is strength, the unwavering commitment to protect your energy and prioritize your well-being. It is the moment you stopped performing for someone else's dysfunction, the moment you stopped trying to earn their approval, and started returning to yourself, to the core of your being, where you are whole, complete, and inherently worthy of love and respect. That brings us to the end of another video. I hope this brings you great wisdom and wealth in the near future.